Hello, hello, hello. What it be, what it do, what it is. I have a little throat soreness today. I literally haven't been sick since 2019, and I'm feeling it today. So we're gonna keep our voice nice and modular. Messy action is my bestie. Messy action is my bestie. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Okay, there's so many ways this plays out. Creativity is not synonymous with perfection. It's the imperfections that always makes your art more interesting. And creativity is ruled by the fifth house when we're talking astrology to correlate everything. The fifth house also has to do with your children, should you have any. Your creative children and your actual physical living, breathing children work very similar. These things that we create have a mind of their own. They need to have the breath, the space, the time to evolve into what it is they need to be, not what we had exactly in our minds coming out of our hands. We cannot control the end product. We can't control how other people perceive this thing, this baby, this project, this creative aspect of ourselves. And this is very feminine. This is all about vulnerability and authenticity, inner child shit, regardless of what it is we're creating. Our hearts are on the outside of us all of a sudden. So when it comes to messy action, you're trying to birth something out of your mind that never existed before. Creating something brand new, never quite seen the way you made it. Something unique to yourself that has your soul attached to it. Right? When you chase perfection, when you try to mold your children into the mental image that you had a preconceived notion of them or to, whatever, they don't grow. They don't feel like they have the space to grow. They feel like they're put in a container or having their wings clipped, having their freedoms taken away before they even get started. I was one of those kids, right? I'm extremely unique from my family of origin. I'm the only person that thinks the way I do in the family, but I was also the black sheep. So I think perfection, I was listed as the accident in the family. Like I was supposed to be aborted type accident. And this coloring outside of the lines has always been a part of me. So when I started creating content, I think my lack of conditioning from being a homeschooler helped. I think that for sure, being the black sheep helped me be less afraid of taking action, even if I had to backtrack, even if I did it backwards the first time, even if my enthusiasm outweighed my technique, which happens a lot for me. I'm a Mercury retrograde person. Making sure that we protect our creativity by being okay with being messy, by being okay with mistakes, by being okay with being perceived as a failure, being okay with the sensation of discomfort and failure, and knowing that you could do better next time. These are all things that we have to do when we're giving birth creatively. Otherwise, so I'm just here to say, the more you try to chase perfection, the more you try to get into it and force the outcome the more you try to tell it the way you want it to grow instead of having a life of its own, the more you stick knives in your own chest, in your own ability to be creative and be unfettered and completely locked in your freedom. The freedom of expression is something that we have to beat into ourselves, especially if, let's say we've been through art school. We have our own set of rules to break on the inside when it comes to expression for one reason or another. I'm just saying, I have become really good friends with my bestie, messy action. There's no shame in making things move forward. What there is shame in is paralysis, because you're holding back. You're holding yourself inside of a box. You're withholding your creative juices. You're withholding your story. You're withholding a story that would benefit everybody else because you're worried about your delivery. You're worried about sounding dumb. You're worried about having it come out a particular way. Then the thing never gets created. You're always stuck on someday. Someday doesn't exist. Tomorrow doesn't exist. If you have that mindset, you understand how important messy action is. Rarely do we talk about people in history that played it safe, that played it by the book. No, the real history makers were the ones that broke the rules. And I'm not advocating for breaking the law. I'm advocating for getting out of your own head. I'm advocating for creating something bigger than yourself, bigger than the vision that you thought you had. Allowing yourself to dream big when perhaps it makes everybody around you uncomfortable. The divine feminine is a creative entity. She's a creative being. We are literally portals from this life to the next. We are portals for wisdom as we age. Imagine the kind of knowledge that gets lost in pursuit of perfection or pursuit of spiritual bypassing, even like trying to ignore your life experiences, perhaps, so that you don't make waves in your family and sharing your story. All that wisdom gets lost. All that creative potential gets lost if we hold back for perfection's sake. The more we embrace things not coming out perfectly the first time, the more we embrace our cringe, the more wholesome we're allowed to move through this world, especially in the art world. Venusian things are all Venus oriented. I mean, music, art things are all Venusian oriented. So is wealth. So is personal value. So is, they say love, but in a great deal, she's a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Conditional love. She's not like the sun. The sun shines whenever, whatever. Venus has her cycles. Sometimes she's visible, sometimes she's not. We have to do our work in the dark in order to bring it to the light, but perfection will kill the message you're trying to bring out. So I'm just wanting to encourage you. Like my hair sort of talks about today, this is sort of my version of curly hair. Miss Frizzle style, take chances, make mistakes, and get messy. She was right. She was right. And she bench presses, right? Always listen to a lady that works out. She knows some things. All those, if you think about it, like all of the side characters that have any enrichment in a show, those side characters always have patterns of randomosity. They're not perfect. They're silly, rough around the edges, but they drive the plot. That means momentum. Driving momentum without perfection. That's what we're talking about today. That is the feminine aspect. We have to do a lot of shadow work to get rid of these ideas of perfection. These things, these programmings that were brought into our minds by our family, by society, by church. These ideals are Neptune. Venus is an octave of Neptune, but Neptune's illusory. You're chasing perfection. True creativity comes through Venus. She births things, and that's what brings beauty to this earth. A lot of supermodels have crooked teeth or like a wonky eyeball, but those qualities give people beauty. Those imperfections. The messier you allow yourself to be, the better your art will be, the better your creative expression will be, the more open and wholesome you are with your communication. The lack of, sorry about my sore throat. The less you try to bottleneck this shit into perfection, the more true it gets, the more honest it gets, the more real it gets. That's why I say messy is my bestie. We've gotten along for a long time now, and I've learned a lot from messy bestie. Messy action. Keeping the vibe pushing forward instead of stagnating. That's what perfectionism, chasing perfection will do. You will stagnate and you will die on the vine. That's my message of the day. I'm going to go nurse my throat now. Get a little honey. I should have put honey in this tea. All the same. This week, I want you to publish something. I want you to publish a video talking, maybe about something you're passionate about, maybe not a video. Maybe you want to post something on Threads or on Twitter with your words or Facebook, something that shares a little corner of your creativity and pushes yourself out of your comfort zone. Do it messily. Make a typo or two. Put it out there. Put your inspired, something that makes you excited to finally get off your chest. That's something malicious, something exciting and artful, something that you've always wanted to do. Let that be your assignment. I love you guys. This is a part of how you balance your feminine energy. Arts and crafts is another way of doing this. You don't make things perfect the first time. Let me show you. There's a lot of silliness in this right here. I mean, there's hot glue mess all over it. But this is something I made. I wire wrapped it with copper, so it's conductive if I walk with it. I got a pink quartz crystal on top. I've got a buffalo tooth. Like, it's created with passion, not created with logic. There's a lot of little items on here that I grew up with, little charms that I just got that day I made it. It's a mishmash. Some beads that came from my grandmother. Like, I did not plan this thing, but this is messy action. Look at what I have. It's cool. I made this. It didn't exist before. This painting, I made this. It didn't exist before. I'm not classically trained for any of this, but this is feminine expression. Let me get this back where it belongs. Right. The more we allow ourselves to create freely, the more creation's allowed to work through us, and the more we are connected with our matrix. Don't let another day go by where you don't get your voice heard. That's all I'm saying. I love you guys. I'm out.